Welcome to Rainbow Soul Podcast, where our soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Hey there, welcome to Rainbow Soulstrology Forecast. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're tuning in. I'm Hollis Taylor. I'm one of the astrologers here at Rainbow Soul. I do readings and all sorts of different types of astrology readings to apply in all different areas of your life, from your natal chart to synastry, which is you and another person, and a death chart reading, which is when I look at someone that's passed on and help you understand their death more deeply. And
hi there, I'm Bright Hawk. I just want to say Hollis's astrology readings are really profound and a great gift to give yourself or someone you really love, because it's so insightful. That's why we do this, is to sort of share our insights and enthusiasm for astrology and hopefully help you make your week better or understandable. And if you want to learn more about me, you can at brighthawkproductions.com. I'm an author of the book, The Dancing Hippo, award-winning, gender-neutral, very positive affirmations for all of us. I always like to say children of all ages. And of course, I'm a musician and happy to be here. And
I'm Lacrosse Ortiz. I am the creator of the Fool's Journey Color Journal. Have a podcast, Master of None. Yes, it's back up again. And just learning little tidbits a little bit at a time. You can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and all, wherever Spotify goes. That's where you can find me.
okay, fantastic. All right. Well, today I'm going to invite you all during this time in our lives to take a few breathers. Take a breath. Just let all that tension flow out of you. With each exhale, just let your body relax and allow your mind to follow my voice. And as you imagine yourself walking under the night sky, with the stars that seem to go on forever, the planets shining amongst the stars, and the moon glowing, and you can sense that the sun just went down behind you. And as you take in this beautiful sky, you can feel the stars, the constellations, the planets. They're all speaking to you right now, right here. And as you're staring up at the sky, your circle chart shows up there with all the symbology and the lines. Maybe you understand it, maybe you don't. But as it comes closer to you, you come to understand some things. This chart is a reflection and a map to your life. It can lead you to healing. And while it might point to your weaknesses, it also points to your strengths. And while that map to your life tells you a story, it tells you the story of your life, how it can manifest, what your potential is. It helps you see what the potential for you is and how others influence those things and what your role in life is. And while not everything is destined, many things are left to free will. You always have the choice to express these things in whatever way you'd like. Your desires are often influenced by the planets and the stars and the constellations. And you can feel a resonance with the universe. Not that the planets cause these things, but that instead it's a conversation between you and the stars, you and the moon, you and the sun, you and all the planets are speaking to each other all the time. And they're just trying to help you stay on your path. And even when things are hard, it's just the universe trying to keep you safe, trying to help you, push you in the direction you should go next. And accepting that lead instead of trying to make things happen that aren't. When we allow the universe to guide us, we can be led to our ultimate expression. That can fulfill our life, our hearts, and our souls. And as you step back and your chart disappears and fades into the sky, you are reminded that you are a unique individual in our world, and that your uniqueness is consistently being drawn out. And as you continue your night's walk, you are reassured that you are on the right path. And in this moment, I invite you to start to recognize your feet and your legs and come back into your body. deep breath and get in touch with your breath. Feel your fingers, stretch them, wiggle your toes, and come back into your body. Open your eyes and find yourself at Rainbow Soul Astrology Forecast.
I'm back.
Woo! Well done, Bright Hawk. Well done.
You. That was a fun look into the star map. I like that.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really feel like it's necessary right now for anyone that's struggling with the recent Pluto transit. You're probably wondering, I thought I already dealt with this. Why is this happening?
Third time.
Or it just feels like something might happen, but actually Pluto is just saying, hey, did you deal with this? I talked about this a while ago. Did you? Okay. And I know I was in I'm in a whole bunch of astrology groups, and some people posted their charts and, they're asking for help. And one person was like, I'm so worried about this Pluto transit and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, well, have you handled the money issues that you've been having? And they were like, wow, how did you know? And I'm like, because Pluto's in the second house for you. So wherever Capricorn and Aquarius meet, that's where you're probably going to feel it. And it just means that Pluto wants to come back in and sort of say, have you done this work? And Pluto also has a lot to do with like ancestors and ancestral work. Of course, death and fear and power and control. So if there's that theme is anywhere in there, I assure you that it's Pluto right now. And so it can be, Pluto also rules like the spine and the skeletal system, particularly, hold on, I'm going to pull out my medical astrology chart again. Particularly also the elimination of things. So this would be like your bowels and your bladder and things like that, like your liver and things like that. It also may, but that's Pluto. And then Capricorn, though, rules the skeleton system, knees, joints, ligaments, hair, teeth, nails, anything like that. If you think about like sort of the hard parts of your body, that's Capricorn. So Pluto in Capricorn can kind of, mix those two things I just listed, or Pluto might create some fear around those things. Pluto also may create fear about death. I have definitely had that experience, first with myself. And the interesting thing is an interesting talk I heard from Christopher Renstrom was that he made the reference to ancestors in Pluto. And I was like, oh, so Pluto, the heart condition that I've suffered with for a while now, since 2020, that has threatened my life. Mostly just because the diagnosis also comes with this small chance of sudden death. Okay. And this is the genetic condition that like athletes suddenly die from and things like that. Okay. It's a genetic condition. There's like 60% chance. There's somewhere between 50-60% chance that it can get passed on to your children and grandchildren. Okay. So first it was me, Then it was my son who found out that he was positive with the gene test, and then he collapsed at work. And now we know that he has HCM and he has survived it, and he is getting a device to save his life. And now it's looking like maybe my grandchildren. Okay. So possibly, there's probably other people in my family that have it too. And hopefully they have been informed. Hopefully they will be smart enough to get the test, because it is preventable. The sudden death is preventable. And there's lots of things they can do to sort of make sure your heart doesn't go down the same track. My dad died of it, and his mother died of it. So yeah, so it's kind of a scary thing. And so you can see the fear there and the ancestor part, right? Because my ancestors, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then, so you want to think about that. It may also be in your body somehow, in your skeleton system, if you're having pain, or maybe there's something else going on in your life. It might depend on what house it's in. So like the second house is money. Maybe that, like that person that I looked at their chart, I said it's in the second house. So Pluto's probably going to cause some money problems. And they were like, oh, I'm so glad I signed up for that financial advisor. And I'm like, I'm happy for you. Good job, because Capricorn absolutely has a lot to do with responsibility and money, especially in the second house. So try to look at where it is. And right now, if you're struggling or afraid that those things are going to happen again, because, you're still recovering from the last time Pluto was in Capricorn, which was, I think, last year or earlier this year. Earlier this year. So, if you're finding yourself a little fearful or afraid, just recognize and just do what you're supposed to do. Because Pluto has already told you what you were supposed to do. You already know what it is, hopefully. And if you don't, you're probably going to find out. So,
and if you're really confused, book a reading.
Yeah.
Because seriously, I have seen more people come to Hollis confuzzled, is what I'm going to call it, and walk out going, oh, wow, that's amazing. Okay, now I know what to do. Because it's in your chart. And it takes a long time to learn astrology, I think. There's so many ways to come at it. There's so many things that people can specialize in studying it. So, if you're called, you're called. Answer your calling. And I think it's a shame more people don't just get it as general knowledge, because frankly, I think it would help. It helped the suicide rate of teenagers.
Probably.
Here's your purpose. So you need to survive so you can do these important things in the world. We need you. Here's what your chart is telling you. You agreed to do when you came in. So let's get to it. But you usually don't. I don't know a lot of people who are teenagers when they get their first reading. Most people are usually curious 20-somethings. That's what I did. That's my first reading was, around that time. And then many following. But
I got curious when my son was born. I was 17. So yeah. And then I got really into it around 18, 19. Yeah. But I was definitely curious around 17. But that was just mostly because I was having a baby and I became aware that there was this thing called life. And, I woke up to a whole bunch of stuff.
I bet. Well, we should probably get to this week's reading. What do you say?
Yeah. So
jammer.
Yeah. So let's see here. Here it goes. So this is the Soul Astrology forecast for September 9th through September 15th. And hopefully Pluto, hopefully you did whatever Pluto warned you about a while ago, like in the last couple of years. Hopefully you've done whatever that is. If you haven't, you're going to know what you need to do now. And you're hopefully going to follow through with whatever that needed to be done. Okay. And so if you look at where Pluto is in your chart, you'll have a good idea of what I'm making reference to if you don't already know what that is. Some people are like, oh, That's why we're doing this again. So right now the sun is in Virgo, and the Mercury retrograde, Mercury has now returned to Virgo on Monday. So at this point, the Mercury retrograde that began July 17th, um, whatever happened then, if there was something in relation to health, communication, maybe eating better or wellness type topics. Those things are hopefully being implied now, and you're doing them, because July 17th was the beginning of that Mercury retrograde, and the Mercury was over in this area when it went backwards. So Mercury retrograde would have delivered some sort of message about maybe your health or taking care of yourself or putting yourself first, especially empowerment, because it went back to Leo and now it's turned direct. But yes, it's direct now, but it's still going over the area that it went backwards in. So at this point, you should be having resolution to those things. Okay. Now remember, Mercury doesn't cause those things, it's more of a reflection or a resonance where, and sometimes, astrologers, we talk about it that way. I'd like to not talk about it that way. I just have to change that. But it's just a resonance as Mercury moves backwards, where our lives are being reflected in the sky so that we know how to manage our lives, manage our health, to manage our mental health. It's meant to be like a spiritual guide, or like a teacher, okay? And it's not meant to punish you or anything like that. It's, more or less sort of a map, okay? And a map doesn't punish you when you have to make a hard right? It's just a map. It's the map. That's what it is.
It's a good
So,
metaphor.
and so it's a map to life. So try to think of it more that way. And so as Mercury's going direct over those areas, you'll probably start experiencing more of like relief or resolution, or like, okay, we got that taken care of, and feeling like you can move on from what happened. Okay. However intense it was for you, some of us, it was more intense than others. Mercury is in a square to Uranus during this time, but it's starting to come out of that square now. So if there was anything that you were slow on taking care of, it would kind of smack you a little bit. But now that it's moving on, it's like, okay, you got it, right? Okay. And it's not that Mercury smacking you. It's more like, hey, wake up to this. Did you see this? Don't forget this. Don't forget this piece of the puzzle. Okay. And so you got that going on. We got Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, which is of course pretty intense for some of us. And then Mars is in a sextile to Mercury, which actually would mean this is again action. This is another thing, sort of another aspect speaking to taking action in relation to Mercury going direct. It's in a square to Neptune, which is retrograde, but I think that that's more like popping your bubble or changing your view about things, changing your vision. And it is squaring the nodes, but it's just like, okay, resolve that problem, right? Okay. So as we resolve those problems, we'll be experiencing more resolution. And I think that's pretty much what's going on. Venus is in a trine to Jupiter. So that's actually really a blessing. So if you've been struggling with money, you might all of a sudden start going, okay, here it comes. Whew, it's getting better. It's trying to get better. So I know Venus trine Jupiter is probably starting to feel like things are getting a little bit better. So that's actually probably really feeling, you're probably feeling more relieved, I would think, even though Pluto is kind of double checking on you in this current transit. Um, it's just trying to make sure that you're on your path so you do what you are meant to do. And it's just a resonance that we resonate with in Pluto. So I've seen that the moon is in Scorpio, Bright Hawk.
Yeah, the moon is in Scorpio. We almost have a grand cross. You have the sun opposite Saturn, creating a T square with Jupiter most of the week. And then you also have momentarily because the moon moves so quickly, the opposition of the moon and Uranus. And it'll switch, it'll become a little more perfected of a grand cross as it goes. And then it creates an opposition with Jupiter and then with Mars over the week. So with Moon in Scorpio, those of you who are readers, boy, that's always a powerful time because the Moon in Scorpio sees it all, and can name it.
Yeah.
So we always are very aware that when the moon is in Scorpio, it's very psychic, it's very intuitive, very spiritual, sensitive. So be mindful of how sensitive you just might be. And of course, when the moon is in Scorpio, it's answering to Venus behind it. So it's kind of doesn't really see it, doesn't really hear it. It's more active in conversation with the opposition with Uranus.
I was thinking about that because Uranus is retrograde.
Right.
So it's not really surprising right now. It's more consistent.
Right.
It's trying to get some consistency going on,
Yeah.
particularly in Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
So, because Taurus loves consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like Uranus retrograde in Taurus is consistency.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fixed, right? Because Taurus is a fixed sign.
Yeah.
And then the moon in Scorpio is a fixed sign too. So I'm like, is this a grasp for... I know I feel this way. Like, I just want to just go back to my normal day-to-day life.
Some consistency, some predictability. Well, okay. So it's interesting because we talk about how astrology often points to things multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to the moon opposite Uranus, it's in a trine to the North Node and sextiling Pluto. Now let's look also, if you look at the sky, you can pretty easily see the angle between Saturn and Pluto shoots up, and we call that a finger of God. It shoots up to Mercury. And when you put Mercury at the head of that, Pluto and Saturn, whoa, but the aspects have both blessing and fate. It has stuff there that says, no matter what, you're going to have to deal with this. So do it in a good way. Here's some blessings to help you make it happen. And follow the energy. And really, again, psychically, intuitively, your gut feeling, whatever, with the moon in Scorpio, all of those conversations are going to say, trust your gut, feel into it. You know what your higher intelligence inside of you is saying. What is that? What is that? Follow that. So I think it can be quite potent, quite powerful. Hopefully not so stressful, but
I think that for the most part, assuming you've done whatever work Pluto asked you to do,
yeah,
if you've done that, you'll probably start to feel like, okay, I think I've taken care of it all. You might have a few more things to tie up.
yeah.
Pluto will go direct in I'm pretty sure it's October. So in a month from now, you'll be like, whew, and Pluto will probably reward you. So that's the other thing. If you've done the work that Pluto's asked you to do, Pluto will also reward you. So any big planet leaving a zodiac on its way out,
Mm-hmm.
if you've done whatever supposed to be done, will reward you.
Right.
So that applies to like Uranus, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. And so Pluto's going to move. It's going backwards right now, but eventually it's going to go forward into back into Aquarius. And so in this winter, it could definitely reward you. And as we move on to Tuesday, we have a lot of the same aspects going on. Of course, Mercury is starting to pick up speed and move a little faster in Virgo and get things really going and get all communications back up. And Neptune is still retrograde over there, but it is part of a trine with Uranus and Pluto. And I feel like the North Node, the North Node is going forward. So sometimes I feel like because the nodes are usually traveling backwards, when they go forward, there's something about your destiny or something that's sort of coming into play or
Mm.
unfolding in front of you in this
Mm.
moment.
Mm.
Maybe you've become aware of your destiny. Maybe I notice when the nodes go direct, so you may have noticed this week, that you're kind of like, oh, I think that was my destiny. I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And
Mm.
so if you got those kinds of thoughts going on in your mind, I just want to validate you.
Mm.
I feel like that happens a lot with the nodes when they go direct, which
Mhm.
happened late last week.
Mhm.
You know, you start to feel that in your head. You start to recognize that whatever you're doing had some that your destiny is unfolding before you now. It's almost as if the map validates you when the nodes go
Mm.
direct.
Mm. Mm.
So I
A-
see the moon's in Sag.
Yeah, and now it's going to, and the void of course moon yesterday was very short, just 5:15, like 15 minutes around 5 o'clock.
Ah,
So don't do 5 o'clock meeting. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that because some people's 5 o'clock meeting might be something you need to be very non-dramatic,
yeah.
Okay, and that's what the void of course moon is good for, taking a break, good for chill energy. So on the 10th, on Tuesday, the moon, you can see now that grand cross is with the moon opposite Jupiter. And grand crosses are oppositions. They're intense energy, not always easy by any means. But the players involved, the sun, the moon, Jupiter, and Saturn, are really, really significant players for everybody. And that's why we talk about this stuff, because it's not just you, it's all of us are impacted by these things.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a trine to the nodes with the moon, and we also have a sextile to Venus. So, and of course, the moon now is in a position to square Saturn. So, not as comfortable for sure, but could be productive, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. I'd say it would be pretty productive and moving forward and resolving the issues that you have to resolve.
Mm.
Um, and finding resolution to those as you continue through the week will be sort of your week, finding resolution to problems. While no one likes to have problems, I still feel like the resolution is there, and if you're finding resolution, it's worth 1,000,000 points in my world. So that feels good to me when I'm making progress, when I'm resolving problems. That feels better to me. So hopefully you're finding resolution to things and staying open-minded to different viewpoints and different ways of doing things. So the moon the moon is in conjunct Jupiter there, but I don't think that will last very long, right, Brett Hall?
No, the moon moves so quickly. So that's where I was saying this is where the grand cross is a little more perfected.
And I guess there's not a void moon. Oh, there is. Okay, on Thursday morning.
Right
Okay.
after midnight. Just for a little bit. That's probably the longest one of the week, though. Right there.
2
Couple
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we'll be sleeping. So hopefully you'll get some good sleep.
Yeah.
On
In Mountain
Thursday
Time,
night.
it's 12:20 a.m. to 2:30 a.m.
So East Coast would be like 2:20 in the morning to like 4:30. So if you're one of those people that's like, why do I always wake up? You'll probably won't wake up on this night. So this is the night you really want to make sure you go to bed on time and sleep well, because it will be pretty non-dramatic. If you work nights, that also could be important to you. But I do see that Saturn and Neptune are pretty much in a strong opposition to the sun, which is just going to be like, it's really going to have, I think it's going to have more to do with like the macro of the world, particularly busting illusions, particularly realizing, the fact that I'm really glad that the government has come out and started talking about um, the intentional interference with news in our country. So if you haven't heard about it, you should look at it. But essentially, there are countries that are intentionally interfering, like Russia and China, interfering with the United States elections by spreading fake news. And I have found that with some people that are kind of confused on that edge, that feel like they're on the other side from being a liberal, because most of our fans are people that are liberal, probably. Because we're all queers. I mean, I guess there might be some,
Assumptions I
yeah.
make.
But if you are dealing with someone that sometimes not falls for, but believes in fake news, you have someone you love, someone you know, I just want you to point that out to them. You don't have to say, don't get defensive, don't get aggressive and say, oh, what you're saying there is fake news. Don't do that. Just be like, so did you hear about how different countries are spreading fake news, like Russia and China are intentionally spreading fake news in order to split our country apart? And that will speak, I think, to their patriot.
Hmm.
And I think that's what I've witnessed when I've said it to patriots, people that are very patriotic
Hmm.
and sometimes engage in some of those fake news things. When they hear that from me, they're like, whoa, well, that ain't right. And they don't want that either. And I think it can kind of bust open. And I think that's a lot of what the opposition is happening now. Some people might sort of bounce over and recognize that that could be true.
Well, isn't that also part of Neptune in retrograde? Neptune in retrograde is all about
Yeah.
review the illusions. Are you
Review
sure
it,
you got
right.
that right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Saturn retrograde in Pisces. They're both going backwards in Pisces. So I feel like, and they're both opposite the sun in Virgo, which is very practical. And Virgo is also a fixer. Virgo likes to resolve problems. That's why I like it when we're resolving problems, right? I'm a Virgo. But I think also Saturn going backwards and Neptune's going backwards in our system, in the macro world, it's really going to make us really start to visit that and be like, wait a minute. So I just kind of tell them, well, be careful what you believe, because there's definitely some fake news out there,
For sure. And on Thursday, when the moon moves into Capricorn, that's when the moon is the weakest. It's the farthest away from its home. It's 180 degrees on the opposite side of where home lives. So Capricorn is what we call in detriment, opposite of home. So it means it's not very strong. Capricorn, of course, is ruled by Saturn, so it's still very much in conversation with Saturn, even though it's no longer in a sextile. It's in a trine to Mercury. It's opposite Mars now, and now it's square the nodes. So not as easy of energy. I'm just going to say it's not as easy. Hopefully it's cool, but it's definitely not as easy.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to say.
Mm-hmm. But the opposition is going to create either action or emotional coldness.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, so it's
Well
going
said.
to do one or the other.
Opposite Mars.
Emotional action or emotional coldness.
Mm.
So by the time we get to the 13th, though, we do have some grand trines. So I'm going to say the weekend is probably going to be pretty good, with the sun in a trine to Pluto and the moon and Uranus. I just feel like it might just feel like a really welcomed sort of traditional weekend, and you might just feel really kind of sort of comforted by that.
Yeah, exactly. The moon's going to be powerfully in conversation with Pluto. Definitely makes me feel like transformation can be emotional. That's what that kind of equals to me.
Yeah. But I think Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday, the whole weekend actually is full of grand trines. You can see those blue triangles. That means things are going to come together fairly easily. Um, and think resolutions are going to come together. The things that you've been working on are going to happen for you. There is some oppositions in the sky with like Mercury, the sun in the south node, opposite Saturn, Neptune in the north node, but I really think that's going to have to do more with like the news, with macro, stuff that's going to be like, politics and stuff like that. And it's just going to be that people are either going to, bust open they might start believing in something new. Some people might be inspired by what they're hearing. So I may also, because the sun in Virgo and Mercury in Virgo, and now that Mercury is moving direct and is getting out of its shadow, I feel like that's inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Mercury in Virgo is a very inspiring speaker. Virgo can be an inspiring speaker. Actually, Mercury in Virgo or Mercury in Gemini are both times that communication can really get inspiring and be increased. So I feel like it's going to be one or the other. Either your bubbles being busted about belief systems you have, or there's going to be some inspiring things, some inspiring happenings.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be a good weekend, the 13th through the 15th.
Yeah, good. There's a void of course and moon on Saturday morning, 7:30 to 7:54 in Mountain Time. So that'll make for hopefully a very nice chill beginning to your morning. Good time to start your yoga or meditation or what have you. Have a good cup of coffee in the look out in the woods, stare at nature. Of course, that conversation that you're talking about with Mercury is very active, especially Pluto moon in conjunct Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
It's also in conjunct Mars. So I think that makes a yod. It's not pointed out, but it definitely looks like the right angles for the yod, which is 2 in conjunctions on a sextile. Be off by just a little tiny bit. That's why it's not marked. So yeah, I'm hopeful for a good communication over the weekend, that it's peaceful and easy and feels a little like you got resolution by the time the weekend came. Because the Thursday, Friday, it might feel like, I'm trying to get it done. I don't know if I can finish,
Yeah, during the week, you're probably going to feel like a lot of like getting it done energy or taking care of things.
And it's always good to remember when you're feeling super pressured to remind yourself to breathe. Tomorrow is another day. The anxiety or pressure that you might be feeling, it's not going to last forever. Never does. Good to remember that and to let it go. Just, okay, now what do I need to do? So by the weekend, enjoy yourself.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the whole weekend will go pretty well.
Yeah. And that's what we're hoping to help you have, the very best possible weekend you can have, best week you can have.
Yeah.
What do you think, lacrosse?
Well, you were saying how earlier in the week, the beginning of the week is do the work. And it's kind of like do the work so that you can relax, and do the work so that you can relax. And it reminded me, since we're still with the bear, they go crazy eating, preparing for when they can rest and go into that hibernation. So it's it kind of reminded me of that. We have to do the work if we want to rest. If we don't put that effort in, then really you're not going to be resting, because you're going to be distracted on the fact that I should have done more of the effort. I should have done that shoulda, woulda, coulda thing that you get caught up in. And then, like, I know me, I tell my wife, I can't rest until I clean the house. I cannot. Why? Well, you should rest. No. When the house is where I want it to be, then I can rest. So it's kind of doing that. Get the work done so that you can genuinely rest, not just haphazardly and kind of feel guilty because you're like, oh man, I should have did that and I didn't. So
right, stuff hanging over your head always sucks, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah. Okay, and that would totally make sense with the bear. I'm so glad you pointed that out.
Exactly.
All the bears are getting ready to hibernate, and
very active on our mountain for sure.
For sure.
Last night we had a major thunderstorm, hail, snow. We had a 1/2 inch of snow when we got up this morning. The roof was covered, but it disappeared pretty quickly. But yeah, it was really intense.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I've pulled 3 cards for us. And this is the Love is Luck, Love or Pride deck.
Oh,
And
that one again. Didn't we just have that one last week? In the
maybe
same position, I think.
in the same position. Well, it's in the past, so it's reminding you of transformations you've already come through. This is about transformations and how you've changed over time. And it's very much, it's the moth, so it's very much about transitioning. And just like butterflies, right? Okay, moths and butterflies pretty much transition the same way. um and so this is really in making in reference to that, and how you've come out in the past, a reference to, hey, you've done this before and you can do it again. And as we go forward to the present moment, this is a different card, which is the Seven of Cups, which is about choice, actually. This is like, make the choices that are best for you. What are the choices that would feel good to you? What would be the resonance of each of those choices? You can see each one of the choices up in the clouds here is a different color and has like a different symbol on it. Has like a snake or stars or hearts. Okay, and that's just meant to symbolize the different colors, right? The different changes, the different ways it would go, the flavors. And this is where free will comes in, especially in astrology. Like, we sometimes think that everything's destined, and it kind of is, but it kind of isn't as well. There are some things that have to do with your resonance and your choice in life. And that's really what this is about. This is about your choices, right? Like, while it's destined that the bear will go into hibernation, it depends on what the bear eats before he goes in, of what kind of hibernation he'll have and if he'll wake up early. Okay. So, like, is he going to have more a certain type of, maybe meat and things like that, because they do eat both meat and vegetables, like fruits and stuff. So I think you have to kind of think of it that way. Okay. And so this is the different choices that you make, and what will be the resolutions of those choices. And going further, going into the future, this is the Nine of Cups, which is very much about doing your emotional work and honoring the cycles of your life, honoring every cycle and what it might bring. And that's exactly what this is. This is a card to remind you to recognize every cycle we go through, and then just spend time focusing on those cycles, because that's really what this is about. Okay. So so again, in the past, pay attention to the transitions you have done, and be sure that that it's possible. Remind yourself that it's possible. Remind yourself of what you've done in the past and how that's helped you change. And going into the future, or in the moment here and now, recognize that the choices you make all do have impact on your life, and it will be what flavor or color that turns out to be with the Seven of Cups here. And as you make a certain choice, those emotional choices or those choices will reflect in your life and your day-to-day life. And going forward, make sure that you take time to explore and totally hold space for every cycle in your life, good or bad, so that you can really savor each moment. And each moment is perfectly perfect, just the way it is, even the hard ones.
Wow. Cool.
Very good.
That's an awesome reading.
Thanks.
Well, everybody, I hope this helps you a great deal. Have a great week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Make sure you
And-
like and comment and all
Yep.
the things, please.
The like, share, subscribe, support. Thanks for watching Rainbow Soul Astrology. I always keep messing that up. Where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars. See you next week.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.